thousands of anti-gay protesters attack a van in which gay activists are trying to flee. This was supposed to be a small, peaceful gathering against homophobia. Instead, angry mobs took to the streets in support of homophobia. The violence erupted after the head of the Georgian Orthodox Church, the Patriarch, the most respected public figure in the country, issued a statement calling homosexuality a disease and comparing it to drug addiction. He said that any event to promote gay rights was an insult to the Georgian nation.
I give my support to those who are gathered here. We are against the gay rights rally, which contradicts Georgian morals and traditions. They have the financial support of some organisations abroad, and they wanted to hold a demonstration against our country's morals.
Western diplomats say this is a sad day for Georgia, which is keen to join the European Union. There are now fears that if the authorities appear incapable of protecting minorities and preventing such violence, that aspiration will be undermined. Damien McGuinness, BBC News, Tbilisi.
18 May, 2013. Yesterday I was shocked by the President's clear, black and white statement. We have been disgraced. What will Europe and the world think of us? We have been trying for so many years and hardly have managed to unite with the European family. Mr. President, it is clear that in recent years you have been bending your head to the West, regardless of its good or bad. You have been doing it tirelessly, even up to now, but personally I, a person who condemns any kind of violence, having many gay friends and relatives. Yesterday, I was quite proud of the fact how Georgian society spat at the parade, organized by your, and not just your, team. Forgive the nation, because the organizer's spoon fell not into ashes but into the substance laying on the bottom of village toilets. If some people, persuaded by you Frank or John wants to invest in Georgia, let them invest. They, along with our country, can benefit from it, but I'm asking you one thing. Please, stop vigorous attempts to bring West's fecal masses in the mentality of the people by means of propaganda. Do not try to wrap this mass in beautiful packages, pour Channel perfume on it, and present it to people as if it was something of medical, recreational qualities. No matter how unhappy friendly West might become, fortunately, the Georgian people are well aware of what fruits offered by the West in their menu to eat and what to discard. Just like my small dog guesses it. What you can do? Georgian nation is very impolite and violent. They cannot drag a tribune with microphone back and forth, as you can. They cannot use long words and diplomatic speech. Whatever they don't like, they just break the jaws of it. Often, in certain cases, it is necessary to break the jaws in order to be appreciated as a nation in the future and to be taken into account. Seriously. Even today, US Ambassador said that the people who raided the rally yesterday were against NATO. No, Mr. Ambassador, those who yesterday raided the rally are Georgian youth of pure blood, still unspoiled by you. I will never forget a trembling young man who said in front of TV cameras, "People, 50,000 men have come out in the street against 50 people, because I have a 5-year-old son at home. And I will not let anyone get away with corrupting his mind. From my side I would tell you, Mr. Ambassador, I spat at your NATO, which tells me that first I have to put up with and permit all these and then I will be accepted in NATO. There might be 20, 30, or even 100 people like this to please you, but you want to be able to stoop. The term that is used in the original version means bending down for anal sex. The whole nation to get into NATO. Georgia existed perfectly well for many centuries before creation of US and NATO. What can you do, Mr. President? You have such an impolite and jawbreaker youth. Probably that's why we are doing so well in rugby, judo, wrestling, in defending our homeland, and in all manly things that you are often proud of. Georgian man has always been the symbol of bravery and his inseparable attributes were a choker, Georgian national dress, and a sword. And if you kill all of these senses that they have, then what do you want to achieve? instead of Irakli, George, Zurab. Should we, in the future, hand Tbilisi over to the guys with Louis Vuitton bags? Dolce & Gabbana shoes? Christian or Dior shirts? Nail-polished ikakos, jakakos and zukakos, Georgian names with diminutive suffixes, with L'Oreal gel-styled hair? And by increasing the number of these masses of people, are you going to strengthen the army, win rugby games and wrestling Olympiads, send troops to Afghanistan and finally, fight back scummy MTSKHINVALI cities in Georgia's breakaway regions? You know very well that this category of boys would rather go to Saint-Tropez and relax on the beaches of Nice rather than fight for scummy. Instead of protecting these kinds of rallies with your teeth, why don't you organize the parades and events that would refresh and relax people? Copy good things from Europe, for example, the Health Day, when a marathon would be held, Rustaveli Avenue and Freedom Square would be blocked and stores would sell only healthy food and the sports equipment. Children's Day, when lots of toys and food would be brought to the store shelves, events, attractions, Mickey Mouse or other big toys, outdoor children's performances to entertain kids. Let's organize grand open balls in theaters, just like in Europe, for which people prepare throughout the whole year. They buy beautiful long evening gowns, men wear white ties and smockings at big events at opera, accompanied by Strauss waltz and gala concerts. In cabs, they would enter the theater on red carpet and I enjoy the evening, dancing, seeing each other, enjoying concerts and the buffet. Also, it would be nice to have an annual retro day, where everyone would wear chokers in the center of the city. There would be carachocles, quintos, retro tables, horses, carriages. TV shows would only broadcast historical programs, so that, somehow, the people and the youth would feel themselves in the era of Ilya Javchavards and Agaki Tsereteli. Additionally, animal exhibitions, competitions, attractions. Many might think I've started dreaming silly, but let's use those millions to make people's lives diverse and slightly more beautiful, and not for projects that are dropped in dust in 2 days, just like butterflies, or not for facilitating this kind of parades. However, kind projects unite people, but of course something that intrigues people and sparks aggression is more beneficial. My gay friends in Georgia have full comfort from me and from the society. They are not limited in any way. Moreover, they have much more subtle, refined taste and character and manners than the Georgian boys have, but it is actually a sexual deviation, and in our Orthodox country, which has a very deep and long history, it does not need parades, fireworks, balloons, agitation/propaganda and chanting that we are very civilized, modern and cool people. This devastates the fragile nature of children, especially as, by medical perspective, out of the 50 people maximum 3 are born gay. For others it is acquired because of following the trend or because of entering some kind of groups of people. Once again, I state with regret whatever happened yesterday. Of course, there is no justification for violence. Priestess place, as I believe, is in a church. However, the fact is that some diastases need to be removed in the beginning of the process, and any possible ways to do so are accepted in medicine. If you ignore it today, tomorrow they will demand same-sex marriages, the day after tomorrow they will require rights for adoption. And I really do not want Georgia, a place that I'm always happy to visit, to resemble certain blocks of Amsterdam. Mr. President, you are our father of 2 boys, and probably you want your boys to make you proud in a manly manner, or excuse me, but who knows, maybe you with your family have traveled to the Netherlands and Amsterdam's red light district so many times that you might accept your boys' deviated decision calmly with full tolerance. Your family is your castle, of course, but Georgian traditional families do not think so, and, please, do not damage people's mentality and shove fecal masses coming from the West with tablespoons in people's mouths. Some people achieved what they wanted because of 50 screaming paradas. People have started writing inadequate comments on this site. I do not want to be an orthodox I will not go to the church with these priests. I should become Catholic, and similar statements. Yes, they reached the goal, and I condemn the Georgians, who because of 50, even raided Paradas, go against their religion. There should not be any place in the Orthodox world for this kind of soul-hesitant people. Everyone forgive me if this status is too impudent and loud. Where appropriate, nobody can teach me how to talk diplomatically. For those who are angry with me, I will end this status with the great Ilias poem. They say about me, he speaks bad about Georgia, he is not hiding our bad sides, this is a clear hatred. This is what fools say, but a good heart will understand immediately how much love is in this hatred. Respectfully, Tamar Iveri. Tamar Iveri, I do not want to see the sexual movements of naked men in Tbilisi. 2354, July 4, 2013. This letter will be translated and distributed among world's or big theater administrations. According to the reaction, one can see how progressive-minded person you are. Your letter has once again shown us that Vienna and Milan cannot do anything with mental darkness and freakiness. These and similar messages were posted on Facebook about the world's famous soprano, Tamar Iveri, who sings in European theaters, after she emotionally responded to newly emerged issue of homosexuals and the subsequent results. I was absolutely proud of the fact that Georgian society spat so well at the rally that was organized by your team. The organizer's spoon was dropped not in ashes. Spoon was dropped in ashes is a Georgian idiom and means that your goals or wishes did not come true. Your efforts were worthless, but in the matter, which is on the bottom of the toilet in the countryside, do not bring Western fecal matter to the mentality of the Georgian people, wrote Tamar Iveri to Georgian President Mikhail Saakashvili after the famous events of May 17. The singer is currently in France, where magazine Sarke interviewed her about these events. Mrs. Tamar, your letter and appeals and claims got great support on the one hand and outrage on the other hand on social networks in Georgia. What made you send this letter from Europe to the president and the people? Of course, in such situations to live according to the principle, silence is gold, would have been the easiest for me. You will stay as a person with a Hollywood smile, talking about your creative work, white and chubby for society. But there are moments when a certain event in your country really hurts and bothers you, and then your play or performance somehow becomes secondary. Something patriotic is waking up in you. I am glad that I have several colleagues who did not stop thinking about their homeland and did not lose interest in ongoing events after their stomachs were filled by Euro honoraria. We are publicly expressing our different views. There are some exceptions. Whatever should happen in Georgia, they still prefer to write just about their own success. It is their right and I do not judge anyone. As for my famous status, FB status, probably T.G, that caused such huge positive/negative response, I will say one thing, on that day, as readers might have noticed, I was very agitated and absolutely sincere in expressing my opinions. At the end of the status I even apologized to readers if they had found it impolite. Generally, violent and fascist thinking does not characterize me, like others have already described my personality. On the contrary, all injustice, violence to people, animals incredibly hurts me. This issue, as well as engaging in prostitution, has always existed and exists in society. These people are equal members of our society and they are our friends too. My agitation was caused by the turmoil and accidental or deliberate promotion, propaganda, which in those days was passing through the media. My friends were calling and telling me that children were talking about gay parade all day long and that they could not take that anymore. When we do not tell them what that gay parade is exactly, they surf the internet and ask us to take there. Some Russian media outlets will happily circulate an ironic phrase, Grudazinsky pederasty, Georgian pederasts, aka, Georgian faggots, all day long. I have a very good relationship with the president and his wife, and perhaps that status would have surprised them, but at that moment the moral interests of the country were more important than friendship. I'm sorry if all these was assessed as homophobic expression by the people in ambush. A discussion broke out in Georgia after the events of May 17, whether homosexuality is inherent or acquired, immoral or the norm. What do you think about this issue? American doctor and scientist Charles Socrates cured many of these acquired patients. They returned to their usual family life. As for the people who were born with this is already an inherited thing, and I think no one should try to change and lecture them. We do not want a discussion about where all of this is coming from in a person. I think this is the same phenomenon as a human being born left-handed. If I have such a child, I will accept her as she is and I will love any kind of her. But the fact is that some people square it after entering the circle and following the fashion. How can you otherwise explain the case of a man who has a wonderful wife and children and in his 30, 40 becomes such? Often, men when they are little boys are victims of violence, and that is how they go to that direction. Propaganda in Georgia is definitely not needed. Everyone knows that in countries where there is propaganda, birth rate has incredibly declined. Okay, the Netherlands, Belgium and France will bear the demographic problem, but Georgia has a definite burden on its shoulders, not to mention the constant unrest and lost territories. We can see that in this country religious factor is strong. That is why such facts cause more anger. In Europe, religion and churches have almost turned into tourist attractions. These things were the cause of the controversy, which prompted Pope Benedict to leave the post, and the German press has clearly indicated about it. So, regardless of all Western values and their indiscriminate promotion, propaganda, for Georgian organism, these things are perceived as foreign bodies. Particular irritation was caused by stubbornness, when the patriarch, the whole nation, clergy as well as secular part asks not to hold a demonstration in the holy place where the Cashueti church is located and where the day before the funeral of the national heroes was conducted. You have information that it could lead to tensions and you ignore opinions of everyone. You invite to a duel, and then you are surprised by the negative reaction. They could have done that in the suburb, like in front of the US Embassy, if there was such a need to express their opinions. If you ask me, it will be better to have a square like in European countries, even the empty area in front of the embassy, where people who are craving for publicly expressing their feelings could express them. In my opinion, they were just tools in hands of bobblers, rich and influential people standing behind them, who ordered the music. Ordering music or setting the rules, lead the way For me, those girls and guys who loudly declared on May 17, "I am gay," are standing higher than elite minorities on TV and on Facebook keyboard. Such scared cuckvitters, bunnies are examples of anti-bravery. If they were disturbed, why didn't they get out and stand by their side? It would be nice if we get from the West what amazes us, and we should not get bad, defective, immoral parades. We should not turn the churches into tourist attractions, areas where you take photographs. We should not take elderly parents to shelters, begin sexual life at the age of 12. I think any normal-minded nation takes from other nation what they will benefit from. Diplomatic and political relations are also built on it. They say stupid learns from her own mistakes and smart from others' mistakes. This expression applies to an individual, as well as to countries. You have lived in many European countries and you have probably seen many demonstrations held against homophobia, as well as gay parades. In what kind of means of expression do these happen there? I have come across gay parades several times. I want to believe that something like this does not happen in Georgia. It is absolutely unacceptable for me, a theatrical performance with man's huge phallus figures, naked man with almost just a fig leaf, sexual movements, fondling and oral kissing of each other. Transgender people also participate in these parades. They behave with more dignity, and just dancing along. The most impressive participants were fat, hairy men with bellies in women's swimming suits and bras. Such things, of course, are not held in the town center. As I said, they have their own areas. Ambulances and police are mobilized. There are negative and abusive remarks too from the people, but unlike Georgia, here live so multinational, multi-religious people, with different opinions, orientation or traditions, and situation does not escalate to the disperse. The Catholic Church somehow does not intervene in such actions. They do it on their territory, And they do not do it in front of the city's main church and tourists. My friends who are representatives of sexual minorities tell me that such parades are unacceptable for them, but the difference is that inner mentality is different and the situation is different. There are no territorial and demographic problems, unrisks and do not sit permanently on a barrel of gunpowder, Georgian idiom, when the situation is tense and explosive. Here they do not even bother themselves to think where to stand, on Russia's or Europe's side. If the pension or salary is cut then, yes, massacre can begin. It has happened once, when I was escorted by Molotov cocktails, Coca-Cola bottles and water cannons to the Bastille Theatre. After publication of your letter many people warned you in Georgia that they would translate it and send to European opera theatres. Yes, and it has been sent. It makes me laugh that after the publication of my status they started translating and sending it to some European theatres. Hurry up, Tamar Iveri is homophobe and Blottler as a singer. I have a European career for almost 15 years. All theatres, agents and my colleagues know how homophobic I am. The world of opera has many famous faces from sexual minorities. Above all, they know how I treat their representatives. I have been a so good colleague and friend that one spun status, FB status, T.G, does not really change their impression of me. Moreover, there are many among them whom I have helped to advance in their career. Typically, these kind of steps are impossible to take for homophobes. Do you know who specifically sent your letter to European operas? I do not want to be specific about from whom this is coming. The fact is that this does not come from ordinary people, but from the higher-ranking people. Some of them might have been on this mission in Georgia. Those who should understand, will understand. It is against my dignity to argue against keyboard braves. First, they should do half of my work and then I can invite to the debate. Just one thing surprised me, they admit and declare that democracy and freedom of speech exist in the country. And if you exercise your freedom of speech, they are ready to stone you to death. We cannot live with these pseudo-values. In response to this they would say that the confrontation on May 17 happened for free speech and free thought. The elite picked up this, it was terrible violence, religious despotism should be condemned. I understand, I too agree that such violence should not have happened. Some Katabas, Barabbas, like, Katabas, Barabbas is a Georgian version of Mangiafoco from Pinocchio, T.G. Priests really behaved shamefully, and I'll say it out loud. We sinners need the priest, first of all, to calm us down and forgive our sins. But we should also think that a lot of political parties cannot gather 5,000 people and priests could gather 15,000 by their influence. Maybe someone should look into the souls of these people. Doesn't the coin always have two sides? Many have heard of the Amsterdam red light quarter. In your letter you reminded the president of it. Perhaps you have seen it many times. You told him. What is happening on that street? Red light district. These are quarters where everything is permissible. Drug selling and buying is a normal business. Half-naked men and women or in swimming suits are posing in the windows. They pay the rent and pay taxes to the government. Tourists can go there in the daytime, but they are not advised to go there at night. Because you will either be robbed or not return home at all. It is normal to have sex on the chairs right in the streets in the evenings, not to mention every kind of parade. With regard to your letter many recall Tchaikovsky's sexual orientation, and asked if Jan sung arias by Tchaikovsky. I sing and will sing Tchaikovsky arias. I will not make comment on such a stupid comparison. So, I should not have sung with the gay conductor and should not have performed with a gay colleague during these 15 years? Fortunately, Tamar Iveri is not a princess of darkness, as they tried to portray me. What can I say about deport from Austria-Österreich? On the contrary, many people are proud that I am the only singer who ever took the Mozart Grand Prix in Salzburg and works there for many years. If democracy exists anywhere, it is probably Europe. It is important to be strong in your work and generate income for them and talk whatever you want to talk about. In Georgia, I basically sing at Evnana charity concerts organized by Tuberculades, Georgian opera singer T.G. I am glad, he is doing such a great job and I always try not to bail on him. Unfortunately, lately, I was busy for the Patriarch's night in Paris. I was in Australia and I was very sorry not to attend T.G. Years will pass, governments will change, but we should remain as beloved persons for the people. We are known for our work, we are loved for our work and not for these issues this interview is about. I want to live in Georgia, where I as a female singer want to need to give such interviews and will talk about light and lofty topics. From now on I will probably be more careful because I saw that if you have a different opinion you should have a horse harnessed. Georgian idiom, when you do something risky you should also be ready to run away, or to say in more modern terms, you should have a plane ticket in your hands. Does your husband share your opinions? Yes, Raoul's opinion coincides with mine. He is a religious man and a truth-teller. Although he too has many friends from sexual minorities, that rally, stubbornly conducted in the center of the city, was unacceptable for him. Especially because one of the soldiers who died in Afghanistan was his close friend and he was very saddened by that.